Good evening and welcome to the Monday, February 10th, 2020, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Belguardia City Council. The meeting will now come to order. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Reynaldo Leal, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Girl Scout Brownie Troop 2543.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, and the rest of the fine councilmen and women, and all the staff from the Belguardia and our chief. Let us bow our heads and close our eyes. Remember that as we pray, we come into the presence of God. Father, we just want to thank you for our mayor, the councilmen and women, the staff of Belguardia, the city, our chief, and everybody that works in the city. Father, we give you this meeting. May you guide our leaders. May harmony and peace be upon them so they can guide us, that everything that is done, that takes place tonight, will be for your glory and for the benefit of all our citizens. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Can you say amen? Amen. Thank you.
Face to the flag, put your right hand over your heart, and ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, will you please call the roll of the City Council?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Cedillo,
Present.
Marcena,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores, and Mayor Cortez.
Present. City Attorney?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Obviously, everybody knows that Councilmember Flores is about to give birth any day now. I believe it's sometime in early March. Because of that, she's going to have to take some time off, and I thought it would make sense if at this time we were to give her the courtesy of an excused absence for the next meeting and the meeting after that, I believe. And she'll continue to keep us informed of her health and her progress and how her baby is doing. So at this time, if there is no objection, what I would ask the City Council to do is to excuse her from the next two regular City Council meetings. Thank you.
Do we need to take a vote, or as long as there is no objection?
Just as long as it's noted that the next two are excused, and if she needs a third or a fourth, I will let the City Council know, and I'll be in communication with Councilmember Flores on her condition and her health.
Okay. Any objection from the council? Seeing none, the meeting is excused. City Attorney, will you please give a closed session report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The record should reflect that the City Council recessed in the closed session for discussion of the four items posted on tonight's agenda. The record should further reflect that Councilmember Flores arrived in closed session at approximately 5:12 p.m. With respect to the discussion that took place in closed session on this item, the City Council received an update from outside counsel Gary Bosio on the status of this matter. There was no direction given, and therefore there's no final action to report. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager, will you please introduce the next presentation?
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. We had a request from the County of Los Angeles Registrar of Voters to come do a presentation on their voting solutions for all people experience. So this will be the new voting system that's used in the upcoming election in March. We have Jeff Klein, Manager of Civic Engagement, Community Relations, and Legislation. Maybe from there.
Thank you to the council. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm here to talk about our voting solutions for all people. So it's called Voting Solutions for All People, or VSAP for short, and this is how we will be voting for the next election and for the future election. We are getting out to all parts of LA County, so I appreciate you taking the time to have me here tonight to educate yourself and the residents of Belguardia. We are open to presenting to anybody and everyone who will listen to us, so if you have community members and stakeholders that you're interested in having us come out to present to or connect with, we're happy to do so. So please keep my information handy and happy to connect with anybody. So I'm going to give a brief overview and I have a quick video, and then I'm happy to answer any questions about the process or the equipment. So as we call it a new voter experience, it's more than just a new voting device, it's more than just a new voting period, but there's a whole bunch of different changes taking place in the next few weeks, and this is how people will vote, as mentioned, for the foreseeable future here in LA County. Whether or not you're a vote-by-mail voter or you're an in-person voter, most of this will probably be familiar. When someone goes in to vote in person, they get checked in. In the past, it's been a paper roster where a voter gets their name and address, and then we look up that voter in the roster, and it's for that precinct. Moving forward, voters will not be assigned to any specific location. They can go anywhere in LA County, and so when they show up, we will check them in using our electronic poll book. They still provide their name and address, and we look them up. The voter would just go ahead and sign. Important to note that in California, ID is not required to vote, so the voter just gives their name and address, and we look them up, and as mentioned, they would sign. A few other things we can do with the electronic poll book. We can now offer conditional voter registration. It's sometimes known as same-day registration. This allows someone the opportunity to vote up to and on election day, even if they missed the voter registration deadline. Anything you can do with the voter registration process, you can do with conditional voter registration. So if you need to update your address and you didn't do it in time, this election is February 18th is the deadline to register to vote or make changes. So if you miss that deadline, you can still change your address in person. You can also change your political party. This is really important because for the presidential primary election, political party will dictate who you can vote for president. So sometimes voters are not clear on those rules. This allows voters the opportunity to make that change when they show up in person. We can also cancel someone's vote-by-mail ballot. Let's say the voter lost their vote-by-mail ballot or showed up without it, we can go ahead and cancel that and give that voter a regular ballot without having the voter to vote provisionally. So electronic poll book really allows us to do a lot more with the election. We mark voters as voted real time, and this maintains the integrity of the election. Moving on to the modern tally system, this is a little more on the administrative side, but the modern tally system is up there to emphasize that it is still a paper-based system. Voters, even though they vote through a ballot marking device, it's still a paper ballot. We tally the election off the paper itself. So to use the ballot marking device, I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to do that. We've had demonstrations all over LA County. Again, it just prints directly on the paper, and voters can go ahead and read the paper, read their choices, and that's what we will use to tabulate the election. Moving on to the interactive sample ballot, this is a new service. It is something that we're offering to voters first time this election. So currently everyone gets a paper booklet in the mail, and that tells that individual who they're eligible to vote for. So for this election, you'll be able to mark your selections ahead of time through an interactive electronic sample ballot. You can do that on your mobile device, or you can do it on your home computer. You generate a barcode called a QR code. Then when you show up and you get your paper ballot, you'll scan that QR code, and it instantly transfers your selection over to the ballot marking device. You still have to review, confirm, and cast your ballot, and it will still print. But it is an expedited process because starting this election, the ballots are going to be a lot longer than people have experienced in the past. As you may know, that this is the first election where most cities have consolidated with the large statewide election. So you have the presidential ballot plus all the local contests, and it just creates a much longer ballot. So through the interactive sample ballot, or ISB, you can go on and you can take care of all of it ahead of time. So theoretically, you could be in and out of voting in less than 10 minutes. The interactive sample ballot is currently available on our website. If voters are interested and they want to go and look up and even prep their interactive sample ballot, they can go ahead and do that. Moving on to the ballot marking device, and there's a picture of it from the top down. This is our brand new voting system. This is what voters will use to make their selections in person. There's, again, to emphasize it's a paper-based system. There's also no internet, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth. So there's a lot of concerns about hacking and election tampering. It's really just essentially a giant printer. All languages that we serve voters in LA County are in this device. So if you'd like your ballot translated into Spanish, you can get that, or Chinese, or Hindi, or Farsi, or any of the languages that we serve voters in LA County, 12 languages outside of English. You can also hear your ballot in audio format, so if you want to listen to your ballot, let's say you are visually impaired and it's hard for you to read the screen, you can go ahead and use the audio feature, or you can even hear your ballot in your language of choice. It is fully accessible. Voters can plug in their own accessibility devices. If a voter has a sip and cup device, they can plug that device in. So it is one system that all voters can use regardless of need. Moving on to the voting period and vote centers. These essentially go together. Starting this election, voters will now be able to vote over an 11-day period. You no longer have to vote on election day, but if you choose to vote on election day, you can do that as well. But voters will have 11 days in which they can make their vote in person, and you can go anywhere in LA County, as mentioned, during the electronic poll booth. So if you're out in, let's say you live near Bell Gardens, but you happen to work in downtown LA, you can vote by your work. Or if you go to school at UCLA, you can vote at your school, or most of the colleges and universities in LA County have a vote center. Or if you're visiting friends and relatives out in Lancaster, you can cast your ballot out there. So anywhere you want to go in LA County, you now have the option to vote at your convenience. Those vote centers are actually open on our website. If you go to lavote.net, you can type in your address and then they'll bring up the closest location. Or you can even just type in a city name and it'll bring up the location. So all this information is now appearing on our website. We really encourage people to check it out. Last comment I want to make about all the changes, and I saw you had one here when I walked in. We have our vote by mail drop-off locations. We have about 200 of those in LA County. You can also look up those locations through lavote.net. But voters can drop off their vote by mail ballot at any of the drop-off locations. They can also mail their vote by mail ballot. It's postage paid, so you don't need a stamp anymore. Or you can walk it into a vote center if that's how you want to drop it off. So a lot of big changes, a lot of information. It is a lot of change, and we're really trying to get the word out and let people know. We appreciate the partnership with the city and willingness to be a drop-off location. So I'm going to just close out with a video that I have, and then happy to answer any questions.
And Los Angeles County has a new way for voters to make their voices heard. New Los Angeles County vote centers are located throughout the county. Cast your ballot near your home, work, or favorite park. Voters can go anywhere. To find a vote center that's convenient, visit lavote.net and find one that works best for you. Instead of waiting for one day to vote, you are now able to vote across 11 days. Once you've arrived, a vote center assistant will greet you and check you in before taking you to the ballot marking device. Did you know that there is a new interactive sample ballot that lets you pre-mark your selections online and generate a poll pass? A unique QR code that will let you quickly transfer, review, and cast your selections on a paper ballot at the county vote center. The new ballot marking device includes an audio ballot, a touch screen, and a tactile keypad to make voting faster and more accessible. You can also select your language, change the font size, and adjust the contrast for easy viewing. Then, after you make your selections or scan your poll pass, you can review your ballot to verify your choices and cast your ballot by feeding the paper ballot back into the ballot marking device. There is no need to give your ballot to a vote center assistant. You cast it on the same device. Welcome to the future of voting in Los Angeles County. Fast, convenient, and easy. Go to vsap.lavote.net to exercise your right to vote and let your voice be heard.
Okay, so that's a summary. We also just want to know, all the videos we have are also in various languages, so if anyone's interested, we're happy to provide that as well. Any questions about the equipment or the process?
Yes, with our residents that are not familiar with perhaps technology or who might find it difficult to use the new devices, will you have someone or will you have assistants to be able to help with the process?
Yes, so it'll be fully staffed, and we actually have staff assigned just to assist people with getting started on the ballot marking device. The one thing I did want to note, just to reassure you, is that it's very intuitive. It's been focused with thousands of individual voters from, individuals who maybe have a need related to a disability or language need, various age groups. So it is actually very intuitive, but we will have staff there to assist someone with getting started if that's what they need.
And then, by any chance, do you have any sort of videos, maybe like a tutorial that walks them like step by step that we can, post online? Because a lot of the times it's a free jitters of something new. So maybe we could put that out to our community and they could see before what it looks like, the steps. Somebody walking them step by step, that might make them feel a bit more comfortable with the process.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a video that shows someone using the ballot marking device that has no sound or anything, so you can just let it play and it's just a visual.
And I would be able to find that on the LAVote.net page.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and forward to your city clerk, and then you'll have the link.
What are the options for our live meetings?
Sure, so actually, I'm glad you asked. This system that we've developed is making history in a way, for many reasons, but one of the reasons is the first system ever created where someone who's blind can cast a fully independent ballot. So, in the past, you either had to tell someone who you were voting for, or if you were able to use an audio format, you still had to give your ballot to somebody. That's every voting system that's ever been created. With this system, everything is done directly on the ballot marking device, including casting the ballot. So now if you're blind, you can make all your selections independently, cast your ballot independently. We've been working with the California Council of the Blind, for example, and we've taken demos out to various meetings with the different chapters, and it's been great to see blind voters use the ballot marking device. So we're really excited by it, and it's definitely an option. We have other accessible features, including remote accessible vote by mail, which is vote by mail ballot designed for voters with disabilities, including individuals who maybe have visual impairment. Sure.
Any other questions from the council? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
City Manager, will you please introduce the public hearing item?
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. This item is twofold. There's one to conduct a public hearing and also requesting council authority to approve a proposed budget and budget resolution for the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 Community Development Block Grant. The city generally receives about $600,000 per year. Last year's CDBG money has been obligated for aquatic center design and construction, and for 2021, we're slightly changing that request. Last year's money is still obligated for that purpose. This year, we are requesting to split off $200,000 for commercial rehab beautification project. And so I will turn it over to Community Development Director Gus Rowan.
Well, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, as our City Manager has summarized, the Community Development Block Grant Program budget allocation this year is we're identifying $200,000 for a beautification program, which the Council has indicated to us they'd like to see in the city. This beautification program would bring about commercial rehab along different portions of the city. Staff has looked at the most needs out there, and we've identified certain areas along Eastern Avenue from the northern border all the way to the southern border. So we've also presented our commercial rehab guidelines to the LACDA. They've approved them. And so after the budget allocation, if we do go forward with the commercial rehab guidelines, we will bring those forward to you for approval. So this budget allocation, as our city manager was stating, the total funds available is $629,000. And in the past, we've used it for residential rehab, graffiti removal, code enforcement activities, and also the aquatic center. We will continue to do that, but taking a portion, again, $200,000 this year for the beautification program. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, guys. Mike, would you mind also pulling us in? I think you had mentioned that there's a possibility of grants as well to be able to conduct the residential beautification process.
Yes, Mayor Cortez. There's actually agenda item number 8 tonight. It is requested on consent, requesting authorization to submit a grant application for a Cal Home grant. That would be for single-family residence, mobile home, and first-time home buyer project. So housing rehabilitation project, first-time home buyer project. So that would be on the residential side of things, whereas the CDBG funds the $200,000 would be for commercial rehab.
Perfect. So at this point, we'll open it up for council member comments, and then I'll open it up for the public hearing after. So is there any other questions from the council? Comments?
Thank you so much. I know it's something that we're working really hard. We have things here as a business assistant, so I know that the signs that trees will really help your business. We have our biggest, money coming there, which is the Mexico volcano. So I'm sure all the residents are going to be happy to see the value of their homes go up when the city becomes, more beautiful, and we can be proud of our city. Thank you so much for going through with that and continuing the work.
Any other comments or questions from the council? Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing and public comments. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item?
Mi nombre es Rogelio Rodríguez. Voy a hablar total del cannabis.
Esta porción solamente es para el public hearing, después vamos a tener dos porciones. Gracias. So this portion was only for the public hearing with regards to the funds that we're looking into right now, the allocation for Eastern Avenue. Okay, seeing that there's no one else, if there's no objection, I will go ahead and close public comment and the public hearing at this point.
So that was the first one.
After. Bill.
Well, I wanted to speak at the question, I guess, that I have, is a major part of our congregation, they live here in the city. They're probably going to ask me if the funds are going to be available for homeowners.
Absolutely, yeah, this particular CDBG funds will not be available for homeowners, but agenda item number 8, we're applying for $3 million, of which a portion will be for obligated for homeowner improvements to existing properties, and then also for first-time home buyer incentives as well.
Okay, I guess my second question would be, the church, it's a commercial building, will that fall under this program, or?
I think under this program, I'll defer to Gus if I get this wrong, but the corridor that we're looking at would probably would qualify if you were there on Eastern, and would Gus, can you fill in a little bit?
Yes, that is correct, sir. It would be residential versus non-residential, so the church would fall into the commercial portion, as long as it's within the target areas.
So it's restricted to the eastern, pathway or the eastern, just, street?
Because of the limited funds, we are trying to get the most bang for its buck for the city, so we're identifying areas along Eastern Avenue. That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. At this point, if there's no objection from the council, I will go ahead and close public comments and the public hearing. Seeing none, it is closed. May I have a motion to approve the proposed budget by adopting resolution number 2020-08? I'll go ahead and move. May I have a second? Councilmember Barton, a second. Is there any objection from the council? Seeing none, the motion passes 4-0. Okay, we're going to move on to public participation on agenda items only. City Clerk, do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, we do, Mayor. There are 8 speaker cards have been submitted. The members of the audience will now have an opportunity to speak on the items listed on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute time period. Please address your comments to the mayor and city council and observe the rules of decorum appropriate to the council chamber. State law prohibits the city council from discussing any item not appearing on the posted city council agenda.
Señora Beatriz Mata.
Le daré el tiempo que necesite.
So, I believe, let me go ahead and check, but I believe that based on our municipal code, we cannot pass minutes on to someone else, but let me go ahead and check, okay? That's fine? No. Yeah, so you can't pass on your 3 minutes, you can only use your own 3 minutes.
Been done before.
It's I'm following the
Been done
rules.
before. That is a way of silencing everybody. That's something that has been done over the years. There was never a...
And so they did, I want to remind you that you need to follow the rules of decorum. And as members of the audience, we need to follow the rules of decorum.
Members of the audience, we are, if I may, we are here to conduct business of this city, which we all care about very much. And we can only do that if everybody remains quiet while the council deliberates on these items. So I please ask that you be respectful of this chamber, of the city council members, and of the community. Thank you.
Ms. Alma Jimenez?
Yo me pongo la marihuana. I am opposed to marijuana, that's all.
María Cardiel?
Buenas noches. Yo vivo aquí en Belgrado hace 35 años. Vivo en la Gay y Garden. Yo iba a dar mis 3 minutos a la señora Jennifer, pero ve que no están de acuerdo. 1 minuto voy a decirles. Voté por usted, señora Alejandra, o señorita, y voté por el joven. Ustedes prometieron tocando la puerta que iban a ver por la ciudad de Belgrado y la comunidad. Como eran de aquí de la ciudad de Belgrado, esperábamos lo mejor, que le damos sus votos a ustedes. Yo con gusto se los di, confiando en ustedes. Y qué desilusión he tenido en enterarme, no de la gente, sino de un alumno de la high school. Que un miembro del concilio fue a hablar con ellos para decirles de la droga, de la marihuana, que quieren poner aquí. Me da tristeza y dolor, porque siendo ustedes tan inteligentes y educados, supongo, que tienen honestidad y comunicación y respeto, y en ustedes confiamos a la niñez del futuro, a la juventud de ahora, a los ancianos, a los enfermos, a los que tienen SIDA, a los niños en barrios, a todos ellos. Hay que mirar por ellos y hay que mirar por el bienestar de la comunidad, no la conveniencia de cada uno de ustedes. Por favor, grábense en su mente que hay que trabajar por la ciudad. La junta anterior me dio gusto que tomáramos 1 minuto por el señor COVID que falleció. Tengamos en cuenta eso, que la vida dura 1 segundo y no la tenemos comprada. Dejemos buenos ejemplos como él los dejó para nuestros niños, para que sigan. ¿Cuántos niños han llorado a él? Porque él tenía buenos ejemplos para niñez y para adolescencia y juventud y para la tercera edad. Espero que escuchen y pongan acción, que no oigan por un sentido y les haga por otro. Gracias.
Good evening. I came to Bell Gardens 30 years ago. I live at Gage and Garfield. I was going to give my 3 minutes to Ms. Rodriguez, but seeing that you all don't agree to that, I will use a minute for myself. I voted for you, Alejandra, and also for the young man here. When you were knocking on doors, you promised to watch out for the community and do what the community needed, and you asked for our votes. I gladly gave you my vote. And what a disappointment it has been, seeing what you want to do in the community. I'm hearing that you've gone to talk to high school students about marijuana, the marijuana that you want to bring here. You all seemed so educated, so professional, that we thought that we could trust you. We trusted you to watch out for our children, our seniors, our disabled. You're supposed to be looking out for them, not for your own interests. At the last meeting, I was glad to see that a moment was taken to observe the death of Kobe Bryant, and I would hope that we would think about that and remember that life can end in a flash, and while we're here, we need to be good examples for our children, and look out for them and for everyone up to and including our seniors. I would hope that you would remember that. Thank you. Jennifer Rodriguez.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Jennifer Rodríguez. Estoy aquí para nuevamente pedir por la cuarta vez que el cannabis, que se ponga una medida en la boleta. Ustedes corrieron en la plataforma de que no apoyaban el cannabis. Se tocó a las puertas. Dejen corregir, tocamos a las puertas. Licenciado, porque la cantidad de tiempo que ustedes caminaron fue mínimo. Tal vez por eso ustedes no encuentran el valor de lo que es prohibir el cannabis en nuestra comunidad. Muchos de estos niños están expuestos a esto ya. Todo lo que está pasando en las comunidades vecinas nos está afectando ya. Alejandra, tu mentor, la persona que te apoya a ti, que te apoya y que te guía en todo lo que dices, todo lo que hablas, todas tus acciones, creo que es importante que te des cuenta cuáles son tus prioridades. Aquí no te eligió él, aquí te elegimos nosotros, porque hasta yo voté por ti. Aquí te eligieron esta comunidad, estas personas que tú les has faltado el respeto. Creo que en vez de que ustedes, Pedro, Aceituno, Alejandra Correa y Marco Bárcena, paren ustedes de ir a cada conferencia y estén gastando el dinero de nuestra comunidad, sí, de nuestra comunidad, se enfoquen un poquito en lo que es su trabajo, porque no lo han hecho. No han hecho, pero sí han tenido tiempo de ir a cada conferencia donde se la pasan ustedes de fiesta con Marco Beltrán. También lo otro, hay prioridades que el STAR Program, nunca han hecho nada por ese programa, y cuántas veces no les pedí que hicieran un jardín, me ignoraron porque no tenían tiempo de dialogarlo. Se habló de máquinas de ejercicio para los niños, ¿qué es lo que hicieron? En eso absolutamente nada. Fueron y repararon a los que ya estaban allí, nuevamente invirtiendo más dinero, ¿por qué? Porque se lo están utilizando ustedes. Se ha hablado sobre las banquetas levantadas, ¿cuántas veces no las puse en la agenda? Miles de veces, lo ignoraron. Todavía ahora me saben que van a tener un programa de piloto para ver qué van a hacer. Ustedes, como representantes, me da pena decir que yo los apoyé. Me da pena decir que mi familia los apoyó. Me da pena decir que los residentes, gracias a muchos de ellos que confían en mí, les apoyaron. Ustedes han sido un completo fraude. Cannabis. Ustedes van a arruinar los futuros de nuestros hijos. Y Marcos lo niega. Pero a la misma vez lo dice, ¿sabes qué? Que se ponga en la boleta. Alejandra lo niega. Pero cuando has dicho tú, pónganlo en la boleta. Y usted, señor Pedro Aceituno, tiene un año teniéndose en votar en cosas que son muy importantes. ¿Qué es lo que pasa? Usted diga, yo soy la víctima. Dígame usted. Porque usted por misma que hay muchas otras personas que están en el concilio, usted también está promoviendo eso en otras ciudades. Dígalo. Dígalo. Le traigo viajes a Tijuana, conferencias. ¿Cuántos? $50,000, más de $50,000 han gastado ustedes tres. Más. Pero así no pueden comprar máquinas de ejercicio para los niños, así no pueden comprar lo necesario para arreglar las calles, aquí no pueden abrir el jardín para los niños que tienen necesidades especiales. No lo pueden hacer, ¿por qué? Porque no tienen tiempo, como dijo la señorita o señora Alejandra. No he tenido tiempo de hablarlo con mis colegas. No se vayan a una conferencia, quédense y arreglen los problemas de la ciudad.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Jennifer Rodriguez, and I'm here to ask for the fourth time to place the cannabis issue on the ballot. You all campaigned on a platform of opposing cannabis. When you were knocking on doors, you said that. Well, rather, Lisette and I mostly knocked on doors. You all didn't have much time to do that. But you said you would be prohibiting cannabis. Our kids are already being affected by this. All of our kids are being affected by this. Alejandra, I would ask you, we know who your mentor is, but he didn't elect you. We elected you. The people elected you. And instead of doing what you should be doing, you three go to every conference you can go to, you spend the community's money, you should be doing your job, which you haven't done up until now. You go to all these conferences, and most of the time you're meeting up with Mario Beltran when you're there. There's the STAR program, the gardens that I've asked for repeatedly, that hasn't been done because there's been no time and no money. The seniors need new exercise equipment, that has not been done. There hasn't been enough money because you've spent it all on these conferences. The lifted sidewalks, I asked to put it on the agenda time and time again, and nothing's been done. I'm embarrassed that I supported you. I'm embarrassed that my family supported you. I'm embarrassed that people who trust me have supported you and voted for you as I did. You turned out to be a complete fraud, all of you. Regarding cannabis, Marco, you deny it, but when have you ever asked for the issue to go on the ballot? Alejandro, when have you ever asked for the issue to go on the ballot? Pedro Aceituno, you also deny it, but you're a lobbyist. You're promoting this in other cities. Go ahead and tell the community that. You take trips to Tijuana, you go on all of these trips, all of these conferences. The three of you have spent $50,000, but you can't get new exercise equipment for the seniors, or put in a garden for our special needs kids, or fix the lifted sidewalks here in the community. You haven't done any of what you promised.
Norma Flores?
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Norma Flores. Lo que acaba de decir la señora Jennifer Rodríguez tiene mucha razón en lo que acaba de decir ella. Todos los que estamos aquí, residentes de esta ciudad, votamos por ustedes para una mejoría de nuestra ciudad. Que nuestra familia, nuestros hijos, nuestros nietos tuvieran un ambiente bueno. Un ambiente donde podamos salir a caminar en las calles, en los parques, disfrutar nuestra ciudad, que valoren nuestros impuestos, que valoren el voto que les otorgamos a ustedes. Sean recordados, ¿pero por qué? Por buenas acciones, por buen trabajo. Recuerden todos nuestros políticos latinos que han hecho un buen trabajo aquí. Sean hecho parte de eso, como estos candidatos que hemos elegido. Somos votantes, la mayoría de aquí votamos por ustedes. No nos queden mal, represéntenos con honor, donde el día de mañana los recordemos de un buen trabajo que hicieron aquí. Ahora, cada vez que he venido, miro bastantes oficiales. Tenemos bastantes recursos para pagarles a tantos oficiales en cada junta que vamos a tener. Eso es todo, señores. Ténganlo en mente, por favor.
Esteban Figueroa.
Good evening, my name is Norma Flores. What Ms. Jennifer Rodriguez just said is very right, is totally correct. All of us who voted for you, we voted for you to see an improvement in our community, in our city. We want our kids and our grandkids to be in a good environment where they can walk on the street, they can go to the park. We hope that you would value the community and value the vote that the community gave you. We remember a lot of our Latino politicians who we voted for. We remember them for the good things that they did, the good job that they did. We are voters, and the majority of us voted for you. So we would like to be able to remember you all for the good things that you did for the community. And I also want to mention that every time I come here, I see a lot of police officers. Do we actually have the money? Can we afford to pay all of these officers to be here at these meetings every time? Please keep that in mind.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Esteban Figueroa y soy presidente de Verde Garden por 25 o 30 años, no recuerdo cuándo, pero yo también vengo a darles mi opinión tocante a la marihuana, ¿verdad? Porque pues, yo personalmente, ¿verdad? Yo sufrí mucho en mi drogadicción y me mantuvo la mente dormida como por 30 años. Entonces, ¿verdad? Yo hice mi recuperación de los 35 para acá, ¿verdad? Pero de los 18 a los 35, yo fui una presa fácil, ¿verdad? De todas las drogas, ¿verdad? Y yo les quiero decir, ¿verdad? Que, pues, yo no sé quién fomentó esa idea de que se legalizara, ¿verdad? Será por el dinero que se va de donde viene, o yo no sé, pero a mí me parece una decisión retrógrada, ¿verdad? Porque están deprimiendo la mente de los chamacos, ¿verdad? Están poniendo en peligro, ¿verdad? La información que se da nada más por ejemplo, del cigarro, ¿verdad? Eso da cáncer, no lo hagan, pero eso no es suficiente, ¿verdad? Entonces, la devastación que se va a hacer, ¿verdad? Yo no soy profeta, pero sí lo sufrí en carne propia, ¿verdad? De que una puerta abre la otra. Empiezan con marihuana, luego con pastillas, luego no hay para comprar y a robarle al padre, a la madre, al abuelo, y va a ser un desastre, ¿verdad? Yo totalmente me opongo a esto, ¿verdad? Y no, personalmente yo no lo apruebo, y yo lo condeno, esa decisión que ustedes, ¿verdad? Están queriendo traer aquí, porque hay otros recursos de empleo, ¿verdad? que se pueden fomentar, ¿verdad? para dar empleo a la gente, ¿verdad? que quiere vender eso, ¿verdad? Y pues, a mí me parece, ¿verdad? Que eso siempre se ha dicho aquí, ¿verdad? En esta sociedad, de que desperdiciar una mente es un crimen, y eso es lo que se está comentando aquí con esa entrada de negocios ilícitos que va a haber aquí, y mucha delincuencia. Ya como estamos así, ya tenemos suficiente, ¿verdad? Por favor, ¿verdad? Repriman esa entrada de errónea de dinero a la ciudad. Muchas gracias.
Good evening, my name is Gustavo Figueroa. I've lived in the city 25 or 30 years, I don't remember exactly how long. I'm also here to give my opinion regarding marijuana. I have personally suffered from this. I suffered from a drug addiction, and basically my mind was asleep for years. I started my recovery at 35 years old and have continued it ever since then. But from 18 to 35, I was worthless. I fell prey to drugs, and I don't know who decided that it was a good idea to legalize marijuana, but it is a bad idea, and we need to keep it from coming here. It took a long time to know how much damage cigarettes do. Now we know it causes cancer. They say don't do it, but that's not enough to keep people from doing it. And with drugs, there's just going to be devastation. And I lived through it myself. I started with marijuana, then went to pills and other things. And it's a disaster. I don't approve of this. I oppose it completely. I oppose bringing this to our town. People who want to sell it can go sell it somewhere else. They say it's a crime to waste a mind, and we're going to be doing that as well as bringing more crime to the city. So I just would ask you to please reconsider and don't bring this to our city.
Mi nombre es Rafael Rodríguez. Yo creo que pocos me conocen a mí aquí. El único que me conoce aquí es Pedro Aceituno. Porque esto desde 1986 luchando por un bienestar de nuestra comunidad. Desafortunadamente hemos elegido a las personas equivocadas. Unas personas que son títeres, así lo digo, de una persona que se llama Mario Beltrán para traer el mentado marihuana hacia nuestra comunidad. También otra persona no tiene el valor de decir se opone o no se opone, Mr. Marcos. Todo el tiempo, eso, mi papá pasó eso, me ha pasado lo otro, pero nunca dice que se opone. ¿Por qué? Porque están a favor de ella. La señorita Mea y medio. Ponga atención porque también usted también es para hacer falta de educación. Si usted dice que es profesional y que viene a la universidad, digamos que las leyes universitarias son bien idiotas. Así que por favor ponga atención. La mayoría de ustedes nos defraudaron completamente, porque fuimos a llevar sus nombres a casa por casa para que votaran por ustedes. Pero ¿con qué han salido? Con traer más niños adictos a la droga. ¿Es lo que cae ustedes? hacer dinero, 3 millones de dólares que están diciendo el Comer, que le van a dar a la comunidad para que prueben la marihuana. 3 millones. ¿Con cuántos 3 millones, cuántos niños pueden quitarle la drogadicción? ¿Con cuántos millones le pueden quitar? ¿Se hacen o son? Porque no creo que están pantalones para no saber que la marihuana es el principio, como dijo el Señor, para el inicio de echar a perder a nuestros hijos. Marcos no tiene hijos, ella tampoco tiene hijos, entonces siempre no le preocupa, pero nosotros sí tenemos nietos, tenemos hijos. Así que si ustedes no hacen nada para revocar esta presión que ustedes traen a la discusión, créanmelo, no los vamos a dejar. Nos van a tener aquí como dolor de cabeza todo el tiempo, hasta que no corran, porque los vamos a hacer correr. Véanmelo, ya hemos pasado desde 1986, pasamos por otros problemas como los que tenemos ahorita, y los sacamos a la chingada para afuera. Así les digo, ustedes los sacamos a la chingada para afuera. Ustedes no son dueños de la comunidad, no son dueños, son trabajadores de nuestra comunidad, nosotros los elegimos para que sirvieran, para el bienestar de toda esta comunidad que está aquí, no para beneficio de ustedes, que esto es lo que están trayendo ustedes. También hay algo que no clave. El Cine Mani es de Comer, es miembro del School Board de Montevideo. ¿Cómo es que permite también que en Comer estén promoviendo la marihuana? Ahora tenemos por delante, tenemos a Alejandra, que trabaja también para el School Board de Montevideo. ¿Qué se lo está viendo con la juventud? Gracias.
María Martín.
My name is Rogelio Rodriguez. Most of you don't know me that well. The only one who really knows me is Pedro Aceituno. But I've been here since 1986 working for the betterment of the community. But we now have made the mistake of electing puppets of someone named Mario Beltran. Marcos won't come out and say what he wants to do. He says, my father went through this or that, but he doesn't have the courage to actually stand up and take a position on this. Madam Mayor, please pay attention. I know you went to college, so I would ask you to act professional and pay attention to what I'm saying. You all went door to door asking for our votes in the election, and we gave them to you. But now, here you are wanting to bring marijuana into the community. The City of Commerce says that marijuana is going to bring in $3 million in revenue. But how much more than that? How many millions is it going to cost to get to fix the addiction of our kids? Because marijuana is just the beginning of the ruining of our kids. Marcos, you don't have kids, but most of us do. And if you all don't reconsider this, we are going to be here every single time, and we are going to be a headache for you until this gets rescinded. You all aren't owners of the community. You are workers for the community. You're supposed to be working for the people, not for your own benefit. Also, I don't understand how the city manager of commerce is also on the LAUSD school board, or the Montebello Unified District School Board, and how can he be promoting marijuana at the same time? And now we have Alejandra, who also works within the Montebello Unified School District, and she is trying to bring marijuana in. Doesn't seem right. Thank you.
Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es María Martín. He vivido en la ciudad de Bell Gardens exactamente desde 1990. Mi residencia primaria fue en Oakland, hoy tengo una residencia en la State. Yo estoy aquí hoy porque hay una contradicción en el cannabis de aquí de esta ciudad. Cuando yo empecé a meter a mis hijos a la escuela en César Chávez, allí siempre se usó el programa de DARE. DARE es un programa de no a las drogas. Hay que mantener a nuestros hijos alejados del uso de las drogas. Y hoy trayendo el cannabis a la ciudad de Bell Gardens es una contradicción a un programa que tuvo mucho efecto en esta ciudad. Yo he sido asistente en las juntas de la escuela, fui un parent booster en la high school Aprobé muchas cosas que se hicieron en esa escuela y metí a mis hijos a jugar deportes por el simple hecho de que en esta ciudad teníamos el programa de DARE. Por este programa yo conozco muy bien a Officer Soul, a otros oficiales que ya de esta ciudad se fueron, pero tuve muy cercano contacto con esos policías porque yo estuve involucrada desde que mis hijos empezaron la elementary school, junior high school y high school. Yo metí a mis hijos a deportes porque me gusta vivir en una comunidad libre de drogas. No apruebo un dispensario en esta ciudad por la simple razón de que también conozco lo que se cocina atrás del dispensario después de que se cierran las horas de trabajo regular, lo que está regulado por la ciudad y por el estado de California. Supuestamente esta es una medida que te iba a controlar médicamente. En esos dispensarios no salen señores adultos con enfermedades crónicas, salen muchachitos de 18 años o tal vez menos. Yo trabajé en la ciudad de Wilmington, donde si ustedes hacen un research, hay muchos dispensarios de marihuana. Algunos operan las 24 horas. Por ejemplo, si quieren hacer un research, Anaheim Street, between Long Beach, Borderline to Wilmington, ahí está un dispensario que opera las 24 horas del día. Es tan buen negocio que puede operar 24 horas, pero la ciudad está perdida. ¿Por qué creen que hay tantos hombres hoy en día desde que se aprobó el uso de la marihuana? Por los dispensarios que se están usando ilegalmente después de sus horas de trabajo. No hay supervisión totalmente para controlar, y nuestra comunidad hoy se está haciendo homeless, dependiente de las drogas. Si tal vez las personas que están aquí no están muy educadas, como se dijo anteriormente en este tema, yo sí. Yo me involucro. Gracias.
If there's no objection by the city council, I will now close public participation. City manager, we're moving on to last transaction.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Martin. I have lived in Bell Gardens since 1990. My first residence was on Loveland, and now I have a residence on Spec. And I would like to say there's a contradiction with the cannabis. My kids started at Cesar Chavez Elementary, and they were in a program called DARE. And the program involved teaching kids to say no to drugs. And now bringing cannabis into the city is a contradiction. It contradicts that very message. I have always worked as a volunteer in schools. I've worked with the kids in all these programs. I've had some sports programs here. And a lot of the work that I've done has been specifically because we have the DARE program. I know Officer Stowe knows for a long time with this program. I have my kids here and in sports and everything is I want them in a drug-free community. But if we bring dispensaries here, that is going to change everything. And it's not just marijuana. They cook up all kinds of other stuff after hours behind the dispensaries or in the back of the dispensaries. And if you watch these dispensaries, it's not just people with chronic medical problems who are there. We have young people going in and out. I work in the city of Wilmington, and there are a lot of dispensaries there, and some of them are even open 24 hours. They make so much money that they can be open 24 hours a day. Why do you think there are so many homeless people, especially since legalization of marijuana? It's all of these dispensaries that are showing up everywhere, and we've got young people who are ending up homeless because of their dependency on drugs. So I am completely against bringing these dispensaries to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a petition by the Mayor Pro Tem to move for council member comments that she will be leaving the meeting early. Is there any objection by council? Seeing none, the Mayor Pro Tem.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to come out and join us. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about me leaving. As you guys see, I'm evidently pregnant, and I haven't been feeling too well, so I'm going to have to excuse myself for the remainder of the meeting in a few items, and excuse myself for future meetings until I do give birth. But I do want to talk about how although it's rare, it's happening, and I want to go ahead and invite my council to adopt an ordinance that prohibits the isolation of expecting female leaders. To some degree, I spoke to different women at different government levels, and they said that this could even be taken, as some sort of pregnancy discrimination, and, had the council taken any adverse action against me, then we would definitely be looking at something much more negative, right? So, I wanted to set precedent that this is an action that should be, in the future maybe deemed unnecessary and discriminatory. And, like I said, I want to go ahead and ban this so that any expected mothers from, avoid any expecting mothers from being able to have to endure this, because it is humiliating and it is embarrassing that I have to seek basically the votes, to go on maternity leave, that anywhere else, that wouldn't happen. I mean, thankfully, everything went well, but I do feel like this is some sort of medieval process. And, all I want to say is that the women that come before me and sit in this chair, I'm doing this for them and for anybody else that might experience this. And, as a women's champion, women's rights champion, and as an advocate for families and youth, I'd like to go ahead and seek the support of this governing body to do the right thing and moving forward, adopt an ordinance that prohibits us from having to vote on a woman going to maternity leave, and maybe just doing it behind closed doors with the city manager and a doctor's excuse, and not having to open it up to the public.
I see there's a council member comments before we can engage, but I invite you during your council member comments. City manager, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. I'll just make a quick comment and just thank the police chief and the police department, for handling a tough situation on Thursday. It took a lot of time, it took a lot of resources, maybe not the outcome that everybody preferably would have desired for the community, but nonetheless, a significant amount of effort was put in. So I just would like to, again, thank the chief and thank the department.
Thank you, city manager. We're going to go ahead and move on to consent calendar. Does any member wish to pull any single item for separate discussion?
I'd like to pull item number 7. And number 8.
Any other items from the council? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and move to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item number 7 and item number 8. May I have a second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem Flores. Is there any objection from the council? Seeing none, the consent calendar passes with the exception of item number 7 and item number 8 to a 4-0 vote. Councilmember Seguin, you have the floor for item number 7.
Yes, if I could just get a brief summary as to this particular item, city manager.
Thank you, Councilor Rosas. I'll defer to our police chief on this item.
Yes, Councilmember, back in April, at the April 22nd, 2019 City Council meeting, we brought a memorandum of understanding to council that was to be reimbursed by Homeland Security and ICE for overtime expenditures and costs incurred during a violent gang criminal investigation. Council approved it at that point in time. We worked the investigation along with some other agencies. We were able to come to a quick resolution of that case, which could have ended up costing the city hundreds of thousands of dollars or up to that. We were able to resolve the case and therefore never utilize the MOU. And then in January of this year, we served ICE with a written and verbal notification that we wanted to terminate that MOU, which was done.
Got no further questions.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the council? Being none, I'll go ahead and move to approve this item. I have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Bartona. Is there any objection from the council? Being none, the vote passes 4-0. Councilmember Seguno, item number 8.
Yes, I just wanted to get some clarification. So this grant that we're applying for is also gives us an opportunity to use funds for mobile home parks?
Now, are we looking at, or is there any restrictions on this as to what qualifies an individual that has a mobile home? Do they have to own it? Can I get more clarification as to that? Because the last thing I want is that I want to mislead our community knowing that, hey, it also includes mobile homes, but they may not qualify under the particular guidelines of this program.
Yes, Councilman Rosicino, first off, I just want to clarify, this is granting us authority to apply for the grant, $3 million, we have 3 years to spend it. We will come back to the council with more specific program requirements, but I'll look to our community development director to talk about some of the requirements that would typically apply to mobile home rehabilitation programs.
Yes, Councilmember, under this program, not only is it for first-time home buyers, but also for single-family homeowners that have a property in need of rehab, and for owners of mobile home parks, or mobile homes, I should say. So if an individual or a family owns a mobile home, they're paying the space rent, but their unit is deteriorating, they've come to us before asking, is there anything we can do? I've got a leaky roof, I need to repair the windows within my mobile home, or something's falling apart. Then we can qualify them under this. Right now, we don't have the ability to do that. In the past, we used to have that, and we were able to help that mobile home owner to rehab their unit. Of course, they do have to qualify.
Now, let me ask you another question. Our building department doesn't regulate the mobile home industry, is that correct? That's still the state?
The state still does, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Seeing none, I'll move to approve item number 8. May I have a second?
Okay.
Councilmember Martin, a second. Seeing none, the motion carries 4-0. City Manager, will you please announce the special item number 9?
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. This item is a receive and file report for the City Council to talk about some of the more important laws that were passed over the last year. You'll see in the staff report, it talks about 1,000 laws that are either approved or vetoed. We have Veronica Tam, and also, I'm not sure if you've been introduced to our new representative. Right, don't have your last name here, Norma. Also, Norma Tavares from our city attorney's office. So, Veronica will talk about the housing element side of it, and then Norma will update you on the remaining elements as well.
I'm actually.
Start with Norma.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as the city manager mentioned, there were quite a few new laws that passed last year, so we tried to condense it to just those that are most pertinent to local agencies. And so we want to start with AB 649, gaming room employment. It essentially allows persons between 18 and 20 years of age to work at a gambling establishment. The policy behind that is that this age group has higher unemployment rates than the general population, so the idea is to give them more work opportunities. There are some provisions there that protect them, like they prevent them or they're prohibited from participating on the gambling floor and certain parts of the establishment, and they also would be required to wear identifying badges to make sure that they're identified as a minor or somebody under 21. AB 571 establishes default contribution limits to essentially mirror what the state limits are, which are $3,000 per person per year. It'll go into effect January 1 of next year, and it also expands the authority of the FPPC, the Fair Political Practices Commission, to enforce this. Localities still have the discretion to impose their own contribution limits, as well as enforce it, but if the cities don't do it, then the default, like basically you're accepting the state's plan, which is the $3,000 per person per calendar year. The next one we wanted to highlight is AB 1100. It's e-vehicle charging stations. This essentially is intended to
support the public policy of moving toward zero-emission vehicles. There's very aggressive targets. We're looking at getting to 1.5 million by 2025, and increase to 1.5 million by 2025, 5 million by 2030. And so this bill is intended to support the infrastructure or the building of parking spaces and ensuring that they are counted for purposes of local parking ordinances and parking spaces. So an EV parking space should be treated as a standard parking space. And this is especially important for multi-unit dwellings and retail settings, because, obviously EV charging takes a number of hours, and so we're trying to limit what could be cost prohibitive. So that's essentially, again, we're supporting electric vehicle infrastructure deployment with AB 1100. AB 931 is intended to remedy historical gender disparities in local boards and commissions. This establishes requirements for appointed, non-elected, non-salaried boards and commissions to have gender parity. If the board is, or the entity or group is 5 or more members, then the target number would be 60%. No more than 60% of the membership should be of one gender. And if the group is 4 or fewer members, then we want to make sure that the group is comprised of individuals that have at least one that would be of a different gender. And that will only apply to cities that are 50,000 or more population, so Bell Gardens is a little bit under that, but this does have a 10-year leeway, so we'll just have to monitor this. And the idea of the 10 years is to build a pipeline of talent to make sure that we have balanced boards and commissions. AB 201 requires that any political text messages disclose who sent them and paid for them. So you either need to say it directly in the text message or have a hyperlink to your list of top funders. AB 377 is intended to clean up a former bill that essentially made home kitchens available as an option, and it's cleaning up things where we're clarifying that we're prohibiting milk products to be produced in these micro kitchens. We can't use the word catering, and no third-party delivery services available except for people with special needs. The other thing that this bill does is clarifying who gets to set the regulation, essentially giving the power to the county to opt into these micro kitchens, and then cities within that county would not be able to prohibit them. And then the last one that I'm going to touch on before I hand it over to Veronica is the Surplus Land Act, that's AB 1486. And what this does is it calls for creation of a statewide public lands database. Cities need to do an inventory of their surplus land, and the public policy behind this is that we want to maximize the use of unused public land to create affordable housing opportunities. This gives a lot more oversight and authority to the Housing and Community Development Department at the state, and so there are several regulations that cities need to abide by with regard to reporting and disposing of surplus land. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
In the last 2-3 years, the state legislature has passed a lot of housing bills in order to address the housing shortage in the state. Specifically in September last year, 2019, 18 bills were signed by the governor. So this presentation focuses primarily on the 2019 bills and what are the more important ones. AB 1763 density bonus, you probably all are familiar with the current law with density bonus. If an affordable housing project provides about 20 units of affordable housing, you get up to 35% increase in density. This new bill applies to 100% affordable projects, treated more especially if the project provides 100% affordable units, then it can get an additional density bonus up to 80%. If the project is located within half a mile of major transit stop, then it does get an increase of 3 additional stories for up to 33 feet. The maximum density also doesn't apply anymore, so whatever you can fit in within the additional floor area. Accessory dwelling units, there were 5 bills that passed in 2019, specifically dealing with accessory dwelling units. In 2017 and 2018, there has already been a lot of bills that deals with accessory dwelling units. Essentially, you have to allow it by right without discretionary review. You have to remove constraints in order to make sure that you can allow for ADUs. Now, there are other 5 different bills passed in 2019, kind of fixed the law in a little bit more to make sure that the development standards are reasonable, so that at a minimum that you would be able to allow an 800 square foot ADU unit within a 16-foot tall building height and a 4-foot rear and side yard setback for new buildings. As long as you can meet the setback and height limits, you need to be able to allow something that's 800 square feet. What is also important with all the new bills regarding ADUs is that it doesn't require owner occupancy of either the main house or the ADUs all the way until January 1st, 2025, and it also prohibits short-term rentals. So you cannot use it for vacation homes. The minimum length is 30 days. So that is some of the key changes. Another key change is the fact that you can also do ADUs in multi-family structure. Now, practically how that can be achieved, nobody really knows yet because it's pretty new, but it's a new provision of the ADU law. AB 1483 deals with fees, how much fees the city charges for housing development. You have to make it clear on your city website. You have to have a current fee schedule. You have to also provide all your fee studies and nexus study in order to support your fees. But that's really just an informational kind of requirement. The last one is SB 330, Housing Prices Act. That creates a new process for development application, a preliminary development application process that you have to offer to the developers, and also makes the requirement that you do a checklist for application. You have to be very clear about what you're looking for on your checklist. Anything that's not on your checklist, you're not allowed to request a developer to provide after they have already submitted the checklist and it's not on your formal checklist. So those are the things that are important in terms of, it changes your development planning and review process a little bit by creating this preliminary application process. Another thing that is SB 330 is important is you cannot downzone residential capacity in your community. If you downzone it in one area, you have to upzone it in another area to make sure that you have a no net loss in development capacity within your community. It also prohibits you from having a moratorium on housing development. You cannot have growth control measures that cap the development on the number of building permits that you can issue. The city doesn't have that currently, but you won't have the ability to do that in the future, according to SB 330. So those are some of the key bills that are passed in 2019. I'm sure Norma and I will be happy to answer any specific questions you may have.
Any questions from council? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and move to receive and file this report. Can I have a second? Okay, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any objection from the council? Seeing none, it passes.
Mayor, members of the City Council, at this time, Councilmember Flores is going to leave the meeting. The time is now 7:16. it is an excused absence because of her pending pregnancy, and we wish you well tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Again, yo creo que va a regresar hasta cuando ya tenga mi baby, pero aún les quiero agradecer por seguir viniendo, atendiendo, por apoyarnos y por todos los esfuerzos que ustedes hacen para mantener una ciudad mejor. Yo también quiero lo mismo para mis hijos, ¿verdad? Así que con eso les quiero decir que me despido por hoy, pero los veo muy pronto y a los que en las calles. Buenas noches.
City Manager, next discussion item.
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. This next item is a discussion and give an update of the, to the council of the, sorry, I'm out of order here, of the sidewalk condition within the city, and give an update of some of the claims that have been made. I'll turn it over to Director Booth.
I think we missed item number.
Sorry, Mayor Cortez, and everybody in the audience, I apologize, that was item 11. Item number 10 is a quarterly presentation from Mike Salazar from the Chamber of Commerce. Sorry about that, Mike.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Bell Garden City Council. I want to give you guys a quick update of our progress of the previous quarter. We usually turn in a detailed report, so I'm just going to go through this very briefly. If you guys would like a copy of the detailed report that we submit to the city, I'd be more than happy to send that over to you. Let's move forward here. There we go. So here's the update that we have for the previous quarter. So from October to December, we had a total of 12 Coffee Connections events. We usually have meetings here every Wednesday from 8:30 in the morning till 9. It's upstairs at the EOC Hall. So that group has been going pretty well. Also, during last year, we helped raise approximately $4,500 from local businesses here in the area. Some of them are sponsors that are listed on the audience for the Miss Bell Garden section. We also did a grand opening for Tacos Don Chente. That one could have been done a little bit better, but we kind of did stuff kind of the week of, so we were very pressed for time on that. And then we had a networking breakfast over at Stevens Steakhouse, which we had a phenomenal turnout. We also did a fundraiser for the Rio Hondo Burden Rotary Club that serves this community and 7 others. And through the results of that, we were able to raise some money to give to some of the local students here over at Cesar Chavez Elementary. So we have 120 students received 120 students received gifts. They were 20 per grade level. That's grades pre-K to 5th grade. We had some more people here in the audience that were able to help. I was able to play Santa Claus and be able to give some toys to the residents here in the area. What we have planned for the 2020 year is our signature event, which is the Bell Gardens State of the City Address. So as soon as we are able to, get our the new mayor picked out for this year, then we'll be able to work with them closely to help put together that event. Later on this week, I'll be working with Mr. Romo to help organize a job fair that will be held, I believe it's on April 30th. That's going to be at the Bell Gardens Adult School. And then we're looking to put together our annual golf tournament in either late August or early September. That's going to be at the Los Amigos Golf Course. That one's going to be a pretty big event. That's probably going to be bigger than we've done in the past. We used to be able to do that at the Bell Gardens Golf Course, which is a 9-hole, and I'm very excited that we're going to be moving up to an 18-hole course. So we're going to have a lot more opportunity to raise money for the chamber of the surrounding community. We're looking to work with the high school to put together the Bell Gardens High School homecoming service. That's an annual event. I believe this is going to be our 4th year that we work with the high school now. And usually what we do is we have a sale to sell the booths, and we typically donate 60% of the proceeds directly to the high school. And then, like I mentioned before, we have our coffee connections this every Wednesday upstairs at the EOC. And then I believe we have a short video. Would you guys ever get that, or no? Okay. Well, we have a nice video kind of previewing the event as well. But if there's any other questions or comments, I'd like to hear from you guys. Thank you.
Any questions from the council? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and move, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and move to receive and file this report. Any objections from the council? Seeing none, motion passes 3-0. Now, item 3 though.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This item is a receive and file. It's an update to the council regarding the status of the sidewalk repairs that are going on throughout this year, and also to give an update as far as how many claims that the city's had over the last few years. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Booth.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Staff is providing an update on the sidewalks and the conditions of our sidewalks. Back in April 2019, we provided you the policy as well as guidelines that the city was advised to take on by our insurance provider, who's the California JPIA, Joint Powers Insurance Authority. And they are our insurance carrier. They give us advice on how to protect ourselves, protect the city on lawsuits. And we were advised to do sidewalk surveys, keep an inventory, also establish a policy, and also do inspections. We do a sidewalk survey once a year. That's in the summer months of June or July. And we also identify lifts. Lifts are considered a 3/4 inch, which is the size of a quarter. So that's considered lifts. We identify those. We also repair and fix and grind sidewalks throughout the year. We do it year-round, and only during rain is the only condition where we don't fix the sidewalks. So in the last 6 months, our crews have repaired 107 yards of concrete within the sidewalk. As far as claims, back in 2018, we received 3 slip and fall claims. Those claims are still pending, and our insurance provider has also confirmed that over the course of 2013 to 2017, there have been no lost payments on any of our claims, meaning we haven't had any payout on settlements for any of our trip and fall claims through our insurance company. So this just demonstrates that our program has been successful. We are doing our due diligence and making sure that our sidewalks are inspected, they are marked, and they're also repaired throughout the year. So that concludes my report. I'll answer your questions.
Questions? Seeing none, I'll move to receive and file this report.
Second.
Any objections from the council? Seeing none, motion passes 3-0. Discussion item number 12.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This item is also receive and file, the discussion direction update to the council regarding speed limits on city streets. And again, I'll turn it over to Director Booth so she can give you an update on that.
Thank you, Mike. Madam Mayor, members of council, staff wants to bring an update on traffic safety measures that we've installed over the course of a few years. First off, speed survey. The speed survey is done every 5 years. It was last done in February 2015, so it is due. We are in the process of getting it done right now. The survey is done and is performed by a traffic engineer, and in order to establish the speed for the city, we do a survey, we count the traffic, we do the speed radar, and without this survey, our police department is able to enforce speed limits throughout the city, throughout the community. And so it's important that we have this speed saver done once every 5 years. So we are in the process of getting done right now. Another item that was, for discussion is complete streets plan. This plan is about to be brought to council in our next meeting on the 24th. This plan identifies low-stress network, core improvements, project priorities, as well as strategies to implement the plan. It includes discouraging speeding, traffic calming measures, and improving crossings for bicyclists, pedestrians, and motorists. So that's called the Complete Streets Plan. We're going to bring that item to the next council meeting. We've installed 2 speed humps, or approved 2 speed humps by the city council. 5 were adopted on Colmar on January 13th, and 3 speed humps were approved on SEC on January 27th. So the council has been proactive on installing speed humps within our community. As far as stop signs, within the last 2 years, 2 stop signs were approved. One was on Priory and Freight on January 8, 2018, and another on Loveland and Granger on July 8, 2019. And so it's important when we approve stop signs that they are warranted and they are recommended by the traffic engineering study. So that concludes my report on traffic items.
I do have a question. How many meetings have we had for the complete street plan?
4 workshops.
Are those meetings open to the public?
Yes.
Do we have any more meetings left?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the council? Okay, I'll move to receive and file. May I have a second? Second by Councilmember Aceituno. Any objections from the council? Seeing none, motion carries 3-0 to receive and file. City Manager, next item.
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. This item is also receive and file. It's talking about discussion and potential direction. To give the council an update on the STAR program and the STAR program guarding. With that, I'll turn it over to Director Adolfo.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Currently, there's a garden, which is about half an acre adjacent to John Anson Ford Park. It has 74 plots. Of the 74 plots, 5 are vacant. 2 have been designated to be assigned to the STAR program. We are making adjustments to the plots for the STAR program. Our participants in the STAR program, some of them are wheelchair bound and have limitations on their accessibility to move around. So we're adjusting the terrain, and we are recommending to make some purchases. In fact, the purchase order's already been issued to make the raised plots that will be delivered shortly. We're also looking at a grant that we were told about from AARP to make additional improvements to the site. We have contracted with a master gardener. Last week, we met with the Birdhouse, which is a nonprofit, and I've had discussions with Little Green Fingers, who will be coming out to provide instruction and lead the STAR participants in their planting so they will have a successful garden. We've also identified the need to make other improvements to the facility, which are picnic tables, umbrellas, park benches, shade structure. We need to make repairs to the perimeter fencing, security lighting. We'd like to do some nicer signage for the facility. And we need to improve the irrigation, which we've been talking to our maintenance crews about, just to get some direction. The water, the way it flows in, doesn't reach some of the back beds, so we're looking at what we can do to improve that. But overall, our expenses for the STAR program is about $3,600 that we'll be making for raised beds. And we anticipate having all the purchases in place and the improvements to the terrain completed by the end of March.
We hope to have some type of an opening. It may coincide with the Nurse Day celebration. I haven't spoken to staff about that yet, but there will be some type of a celebration once the participants start their gardening in April.
Thank you so much for the update, and I want to thank you for everything that you have brought to our department and all the changes that you're implementing. I think we're going to see great improvements, and we're very happy again to have you on board, and I'm seeing the progress, and I love it. So thank you very much for that.
I also want to thank you and the entire Recreation and Community Services Department for doing this work. I know a lot of times council is the one to take the credit for the work that gets done on the field, but in reality, most of the work is done by the employees of the city. So really appreciate that. And I just want to recommend that we engage the current community garden participants, that they have so much experience and they've been working that land for a long time. And I think they would love to be part of something new in the city and maybe do a collaboration. So please keep us posted, and thank you again.
And we will. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments by the council? Seeing none, I'll move to receive and file this report. Second.
I'll second.
Councilor Barton, a second. Is there any objection by the council? Seeing none, the vote carries 3-0. City Manager, next item.
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. This item is also receive and file, but to give you an update at council's request regarding the exercise equipment at the senior center, I think was brought up earlier today as well. So I'll ask Director Adalto to give an update on movement on that item.
Thank you again, Mayor, City Council. The city of Bell Gardens currently operates 2 senior centers, one at Veterans Park and the other one located at Clara Street. Clara Street does have a weight room. It's a very nice weight room. It's approximately 440 square feet, and within this weight room, there's treadmills, recumbent stationary bikes, there's a weight room station, and 3 weights. At Veterans Park, they have a very small room. It's approximately 187 square feet. And there are only 2 treadmills and 2 recumbent bicycles in the facility. It's very limited. There's not a whole lot of space for additional equipment. The equipment that is currently there was purchased over 10 years ago, and it has surpassed its life. We have contracted with a firm that comes in and does maintenance on a monthly basis. They've been in place since 1st of December. They come in monthly to work on all the machines. I've asked them to provide us with whether the machines can be repaired or we'll have to replace them. Along with that, we're looking at evaluating all programming that is occurring at the Veterans Senior Center so that we can best serve the community in Bell Gardens. And with that, we are looking at the exercise equipment. So we'll have that evaluation in place here probably in the next couple weeks, and I can provide you with an update just through a memo of whether the machinery can be repaired. But we're looking at an assessment of the entire senior center at Veterans Park. The maintenance contract is $95 a month, does not include any of the supplies to make the repairs. But again, that maintenance contract's been in place since December 1, and so we'll be waiting to hear from them as to if the machinery can be repaired.
Any questions or comments?
I do have a question that is not completely related, but I wanted to know if the outdoor exercise equipment that's found on the corner of Eastern and Park Lane, what are the hours that that's open? Because I think I've seen it closed.
It's Garfield, sorry.
Yes, it's on Park Lane and Garfield. It's open when the soccer field is open, so it's limited. We are evaluating whether that is the best placement for that equipment, because I have spoken to a few residents who would like to have access to that, and so we are evaluating that. Just on another note, just today, I was contacted by AARP, and Bell Gardens is being considered for a fit lot at no expense to us for $160,000. So I'll be coming back to council in the near future, but it's very similar to what is at Garfield and at Park Lane. So I'm very excited about the possibility of that. So if that's the case, we may be looking at moving out those apparatus into an area where the community can access that equipment every day, as opposed to just when the soccer field is open.
Great, thank you for this.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and move to receive and file this report. Any objection from the council? Seeing none, the motion passes 3-0. City Manager, next item.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This item is also receive and file, but also seeking if there's any further direction from the council regarding an initiative pertaining to cannabis-related uses citywide. Back in November, there was an item that was brought to the council that described the current regulatory framework. The city currently has as restrictive of laws as the city can have under state law. Staff committed to bringing back an agenda, a draft agenda for discussion for the council for a future community workshop, which we're ready to bring back as soon as the next meeting. This item is more direct to the point. It was a specific request from council regarding consideration prior to that workshop of an initiative related to cannabis. I'll turn it over to Community Development Director Romo.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, the City Council, as our City Manager has stated, we have brought this item to you on behalf of our Assistant City Attorney to ask if you would like to consider a ballot measure at the next general election. Council at the time determined not to take further action, and my understanding is that this item was tabled. So, at the request of Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Flores, this item is being brought back to you. So the question is being posed to you again, whether you would like to consider leaving this up to the voters in terms of the cannabis decision. Right now, as our City Manager stated, City Council already took action based on 2 past ordinances to say that they do not want cannabis operations, whether it's the manufacturing and cultivation side or the retail component of the dispensaries. Nothing is permitted in the city. So you could continue that way and at a future date decide that City Council has that decision, or decide to put this as a ballot initiative and have the staff go ahead and proceed towards putting this on the ballot. If it is successful, then it would more than likely go on the November ballot. And that way it would be up to the voters to decide whether cannabis would be prohibited or permitted in the city. So that concludes my report.
So, Madam Mayor, I have a quick question for our staff. So, just for the record, because folks out in the community are being misled by an individual that wants to take advantage of a situation.
Say my name,
And
Jennifer.
create-
I'm sorry, it's Jennifer Rodriguez. You need to
Say my
please
name.
follow the
Say
rules of
my
decorum.
name.
This is your first warning.
Say it.
You need to follow the rules of decorum.
Say it.
Councilor Martinez, please continue.
Thank you. Once again, as I was stating, there's an individual that is out there. Madam Mayor, I would ask that the individual in the audience refrain from speaking out loud. I would think that.
Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to give you a courtesy second warning. The next time I will have you removed per our ordinance.
So, as I was stating, there's an individual that wants to take advantage of our community and mislead them as if this council is moving forward with the cannabis business or industry. Our current record states what?
Current city council record indicates that the council is against any type of operation. First ordinance that was approved identified no cultivation or manufacturing. The second ordinance was to further clarify that no other type of operation would be permitted in the city. So as it stands, the council has a record of not permitting any type of cannabis operation in the city.
For the benefit of those folks in our audience that may not speak English, is there an opportunity for translation of what our staff just stated?
Would you please translate on the microphone out loud, please?
La pregunta que hizo el concejal fue que cuál es el récord hasta ahora de los concejales del Consejo Municipal sobre el cannabis. Y la respuesta del director fue que lo que se ha hecho hasta ahora fue primero una ordenanza prohibiendo la cultivación de marihuana de cannabis en la ciudad y luego una segunda ordenanza prohibiendo cualquier otro tipo de operación con respecto al cannabis. Así que de las acciones del Consejo hasta ahora han sido completamente en contra, prohibiendo el cannabis en la ciudad.
Thank you, Trevor.
No further questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Acevedo, for clarifying that record. I wasn't sitting on this council when that action was taken. It was taken by the previous council, but as, our director informed us, this is a product that has banned from our community. It is something that has been banned from our parks, and yes, the community is being misled due to an obsession with this, product. And it's so sad that you're using, or that this individual is using voters and is using residents to alarm them, making them think and believe that, we're open within the next few months. The reason why we haven't touched this subject is because, quite frankly, it's not up to consideration for the council. We haven't discussed it. Nobody is for sale here. No one is getting money as is being alleged. So that's why we haven't touched the subject. Why put an item on the agenda when it doesn't pertain to our community? And that's, quite frankly, the honest truth about this. And yes, we are educated individuals, and every single time we had a pledge that we would be honest with our community. Now that certain people walked and canvassed and knocked on doors and promised, the stars and the moon, that's not what we all did. So I just want to make that very clear. For those of you alleging that we voted and we knocked on your doors and we told you X, Y, and Z, please remember that's truly what we told you, because that wasn't part of my report, nor was that part of my script. When I was asking and petitioning for your vote, what I did promise to my community is that with every single decision, I would walk with my head held up high, and I would do the best for my community, and I would be completely transparent about that. And I continue to be. Any questions that you may have, feel free to set up an appointment with any of us, and we'll be more than happy to clarify that. But this needs to stop now, and our community should not be being used to promote, some ideas or obsessions from certain people. As of now, this is not up to consideration for the council, therefore we haven't touched it. And I would like to retain my autonomy to be able to vote for my community as I was elected to do. Any other questions from the council, comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and move and receive and file this report. I need a second.
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Acevedo. Is there any objection by the council? Seeing none, motion carries, and we'll go ahead and move on to the last item.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This time is also received files giving an update regarding local, state, federal strategy programs regarding homelessness. This was put together by Community Development Director Gus Romo in concert with the police department, the police chief, and also have a representative from LAFA here as well that will provide some information. So I'll turn it over to Director Romo.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. We have with us today Ms. Kim Barnes, who is manager at the Los Angeles Housing Services Authority. She's here with us today. So she'll be available for any questions as well after this presentation. So 2019, Governor Newsom has signed several bills pertaining to the homelessness crisis in an effort to help all the communities that are dealing with this national crisis. These bills became effective January 1st. And the primary goal of the new legislation is one, to help build more emergency shelters, and secondly, to provide more programs and services in an effort to put the homeless back into permanent housing. And the new state legislation also includes exemptions from the California Environmental Quality Act. So overall, that is going to help build up more shelters without the restrictions that are currently in place with the California Environmental Quality Act. There's been concerns voiced by the community. Staff has received them, the council, I'm sure, has received them, with regards to impacts that the homeless situation has on our community, both to residents that live within homes as well as those that do not have homes. Trespassing, littering, vandalism have been concerns, but the community is also concerned with the well-being of the homeless themselves. You know, seeing them out in the street, sometimes, depending on the weather, you know, it can get very hot or very cold. Bell Gardens Police Department, you know, in my opinion, has done a wonderful job taking care of this issue, and they continue to work with the community. They continue to work with LASA to help homeless individuals and their families. In fact, most recently, they went ahead and helped with some cleanup of some homeless encampments. Every time there's a call out there, they get together with our public works crew, and they take care of the situation. So in 2019, they contact over 360 homeless and mentally ill individuals in an effort to provide that help or that aid together with LA County Mental Health Department and LASA. The GIU, or the General Investigation Unit, again, just recently helped clean up the Florence Avenue Bridge and the Rio Hondo Riverbed bike path. Thanks to the PD and our Public Works crew, they disposed of several truckloads of debris. And again, the question here is not just to clean up debris, but also to help out the homeless. So we're trying to do both at the same time, and just reacting to the concerns of our residents as well as the homeless residents. And there's going to be a regular schedule for cleanup that's being considered to reduce the reestablishment of these encampments. The city of Bell Gardens falls under what's called Service Planning Area Number 7, which includes several cities in this area, including Maywood, Montebello, Huntington Park, etc., as well as some unincorporated areas of LA County. Back in 2019, we showed that the homeless population grew by a little over 6,000 people, and the last homeless count, we showed that there were about 85 homeless here in the city within our borders. The governor's budget includes the following that allows cities and the counties to apply for grants. So far what the government has done, $650 million to local governments for homeless emergency aid, $120 million for expanded whole person care services. So you can see here several millions for various strategies, including supplemental security, income advocacy, $40 million for student rapid housing. And we do understand that there is a large population of homeless students that oftentimes have to live in their car. $20 million in legal assistance for eviction prevention, which we've seen this past time with the rent control, how often that is happening. And over $400 million to increase grants to families in the CalWorks program. So what staff would like to ask from you is to provide direction on the next steps that you'd like to see with regards to the homeless crisis and receiving filers report. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I did have the pleasure of going out with our, neighborhood watch, our police department, and LASA to our last homeless count. And it's hard to see that a lot of our, residents are displaced, and unfortunately, there's not much we can do because there is, certain case law that has already prohibited that, and the city of Los Angeles, when they try to do that, then now they're experiencing fines and litigation and so on and so forth, as well as other cities. This past conference that we attended, we had the opportunity to learn from Bellflower, and the fact that Bellflower is going to have a temporary shelter, but we also realize that this costs a lot of money. I believe by their estimations, there were, at least in the first year, the projection was maybe $10 million, which is something that unfortunately we don't count with. But until we're not able to, from my understanding, and Richie could correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that if we don't have number of beds to provide for the number of residents that we have displaced, and at that point, we can enforce our nuisance laws or different, codes or municipal codes that we have with regards to ticketing or even doing anything inhumane with our residents. So I just want to make that clear. It's not that the council is not taking any action with regards to this. It's just that there's only so much, unfortunately, that we can do, and we are trying to petition to the state, and hopefully, we were talking to other council from other cities, with regards to uniting and possibly requesting, for the county to allocate more resources to us. We realize that if it's one individual city, we might not get much, but if we all unite and request that, then we might be able to get more. I know our police department does a lot I believe weekly or bi-weekly, they go out and they do make contact, and they offer services to our homeless population. So I thank you for that, and also to the different organizations that come out and assist us with that. Let's remember our humanity. At the end of the day, these are still human beings, and I want to reiterate that. So we're just going to keep on working with that, and at least for me, that's, let's just keep working as humanely as possible with our residents, and that's it from my side. Councilmember?
I have a question for staff. So, I just received a phone call earlier from a business in our city that has been dealing with the homeless individual sleeping 24/7 in front of their business. They've got some assistance and they were able to have the individual relocate, but they've relocated to the street. They've seen an increase, actually a drop in their business because of that, and their customers are complaining, fearing, dealing with the situation, the individual sleeping outside there and they are not comfortable. So he asked as to what can the city do or what can he do? Is there any services out there that can go and assist this individual that is homeless? And what happens if they don't want to take any of the services?
Councilmember Roque, it's a very good question. That is a question that we often get as well. Once a person is in the public sidewalk, they have a right to be there, unfortunately. But let me go ahead and pose this question to our manager of LASA, Ms. Kim Barnett.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to short tonight. This is down. Honorable Mayor and council members, first and foremost, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kim Barnett. I'm a resident in Spot 7. I've been doing this work in this area for over 10 years, so I'm very invested in this community. I also would like to commend you for actually asking staff for a report on what are some things that you guys can do as a council and as a city, as a collective voice to address homelessness in our community. It's very important that we're in tune with what's happening and also be able to provide our constituents answers when they come questions like that. So some of the things that you can do, we do have a portal here now at www.la-hop.org. Businesses and residents, yourselves can enter those. People experiencing homelessness, and it's geotagged, so if you're driving past them, you can actually sit 5 minutes and do it right then and there. I'm happy to come back at a future date and really explain a little bit more in detail what our homeless delivery system looks like in Spot 7. And I also wanted to commend South Gardens PD under the leadership of Chief Fairfield, with the assistant of Sergeant Sinisi and Detective Watson. They've been very helpful in helping us expand another program that helps our first responders address homelessness in a compassionate way that gives them the opportunity to kind of connect with the folks that are out there. It's most often that law enforcement is the first, the first people to interact with our homeless neighbors, and so being able to engage with them in a way that they can relate to them and give them the opportunity to bring resources to them is another way to kind of combat some of the issues that our residents and our communities are having. But I'm happy to come back at a later date with a little bit better prepared and a presentation that I can explain a little bit more in detail.
So, I don't know if you're the appropriate person that can answer this question. One of the questions I do get from some of the residents as well is the fact that we, as voters in LA County, approved a sales tax increase to kind of assist the homeless situation and alleviate the problem. The question that has been asked is, where's that money? Why haven't we seen it, or where do we have to go to see how those dollars are being spent?
I'm happy to come back with the report back and explain where Measure H money is being kind of delivered to, and how the community itself is actually receiving those services, or how that money is being spent within the city.
So Councilmember, if it's okay with you, we could go ahead and request for the report as soon as, she can provide the report, so if it's for the next meeting, then we'll add her for the next meeting. Yes?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Morrison?
I just wanted to ask the city manager if he's aware of any online resources that we have been asking the council to be placed on the website.
Yes, Councilman Barton, I can speak to the city's website. If you go to services, our drop-down menu, homeless services is there, it links directly to LASA's website. Also, the PD, I believe, have a link as well to LASA. And based on the information that was just provided, I'm sending a text to Hylas now. If there's some new service available that I don't think we have specifically linked to, we can put out in social media this reporting tool that was just described as well.
Thank you. I also want to thank the police department. They went out with me to visit one of our residents, and I actually got to see one of these encampments that was right next to our resident's home. And, we got lucky that in that particular case, we were able to remove that encampment because it was in a no trespassing zone. So that was sort of an easy fix, and it feels wrong even calling it that, but unfortunately, a lot of the cases that are out there are not that easy to deal with because you can't just remove someone from their encampment. But one positive thing about this is that whenever it is possible to improve the situation, our police department is there to help along with the public works department who comes in and helps out with the cleaning. So our staff is being responsive to scenarios where they can actually do something, and we really appreciate those efforts from our department. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and move that to receive and file this report. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Rosituno. Any objection from the council? Seeing none, we have a 3-0. City Clerk will go ahead and move on to public participation on our non-agenda items. Public participation is not open. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have 9 speaker cards have been submitted. The members of the audience will now have an opportunity to speak on matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute time period. Please address your comments to the Mayor and City Council and observe the rules of decorum appropriate to the council chamber. State law prohibits the City Council from discussing any item not appearing on the posted City Council agenda.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a recess for 5 minutes to give our interpreter a little break. Okay, it is 8:05 and the council is coming back into session. We're going to go ahead and get started with public comment. City Clerk, can you please just read those instructions one more time?
Certainly, Mayor. The members of the audience will now have an opportunity to speak on matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute time period. Please address your comments to the Mayor and City Council and observe the rules of decorum appropriate to the council chamber. State law prohibits the City Council from discussing any item not appearing on the posted City Council agenda.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Cuando se refieren a mí, agradezco que se refieran a mí bajo nombre. Engañar, yo no engaño a la comunidad. Simple y llanamente los que están engañando con ustedes. Dicen que ya hay una medida, que ya existe algo que prohíbe la venta de la marihuana. Existe, sí, pero ustedes lo pueden cambiar a cualquier momento. Y lo que estamos pidiendo, lo que estamos exigiendo como ciudadanos, es que esta medida se ponga en la boleta. Si ustedes están muy contra ello, ¿qué es el problema de poner una medida que le daría el derecho a nuestra comunidad a determinar si es que quieren ese tipo de negocio aquí o no? Los que mienten aquí son ustedes. Los que son falsos son ustedes. ¿Por qué no escuchan a la comunidad que está aquí?
Ustedes pongan una boleta, ya no se están mintiendo, simplemente compruébenlo, estoy mintiendo y pongan una boleta. Pero no lo hacen, ¿por qué? Porque ustedes ya tienen su plan y lo saben. Referente con las calles, las banquetas, el Star Program, el Senior, el Cannabis, no importa, le digo a la comunidad, ¿quién se da crédito por esto? Pero eso les explico cómo eso terminó en la agenda. Eso terminó en la agenda porque lo puse antes de que me sacaran el contigo bajo esta licencia y bajo mi nombre. Porque yo más o menos sabía lo que iba a pasar. Es por eso que estos problemas se están dialogando hoy, no porque ellos hayan tenido una solución y no porque ellos hayan llamado la atención y querer hacer algún cambio. Estas son cosas que yo he traído a la agenda. Entonces hay que aclarar. ¿Saben qué? Lo otro también, Marcos, esta familia que tú fuiste a ver, esta misma familia que les he rogado que apoyen la iglesia y no lo hicieron hasta ahorita. Gracias. Gracias, pero sabes que las intenciones estaban desde un principio y no por último. Nuestra comunidad está nuevamente siendo sacrificada. Nuestra comunidad está siendo vendida. Lo único que estamos pidiendo es put the measure on the ballot. Strip the council from the right to vote for candidates in our city or not. Give that right to the community. Give that right to the voters. Look at what's happening in Commerce. Look at what's happening in Huntington Park, Calle, Bell. All these cities are being sold out to who? Mario Beltran. Who? Ms. Alejandra Cortez stated was her mentor. She said it in front of the city manager. She said it in front of the set, and she said it in front of me. And you, Marco, what did you talk about? You talked about money. You talked about money. So my thing is this. If I'm lying, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Let the community be the one who chooses if they want this or not to go vote on the 2020 ballot. So you haven't done it. You haven't even talked about it. Señor Pedro Aquituno, déjeme decirle algo. Usted se quiso propasar conmigo. Se quiso propasar conmigo y lo digo ahora públicamente porque aquí están sus padres y quiero que sus padres comprendan el por qué esa división pasó. ¿Rogelio?
Porque me tapa la cara. Tape la cara. No se tape la cara.
Déjame contratar, Rodríguez. Déjame decirles una cosa, si la persona de aquí no sabe, yo soy papá de James Rodríguez. Yo vengo aquí simplemente oponiéndome a la marihuana, no vengo aquí a apoyar en su posición, no vengo a pelear posiciones de civil canto. Simplemente estoy con mi derecho.
One second, people in the back, we're having a hard time hearing the speaker, so if you can please keep it down. If you want to have a conversation, if you could go outside the chambers, we're having a difficult time hearing Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you.
Como dije, yo no vengo a pelear posiciones, simplemente estoy opuesto 100% a la marihuana. Marcos, cuestión Marcos, todo el tiempo. O que déjeme decirte aquí, Pedro Aquituno, en el último mes pasado, tú me quisiste hostigar a mí. Déjame decirte una cosa, Pedro. Tengo 70 años, pero nunca he tenido miedo. Miedo a nadie, ni a ti, ni a nadie, le tengo miedo. Para que lo sepas. Pues otra vez te vas a tratar de hacer eso, vas a esperar otra respuesta diferente a la que te di ese día. Aunque te diga, estoy viejo, pero todavía no puedo. Lo otro, díganme bien ustedes, quiero que me respondan estas preguntas. Cuando ustedes quieren ir al baño, van al baño, ¿verdad? Porque tienen ganas. Entonces, ¿para qué fregar ponen en la agenda algo que no están de acuerdo que van a pasar? ¿Para qué la ponen en la agenda? No es necesario de ponerlo, simplemente hay una oposición que no la queremos y se acabó. No intentaré las reuniones, pero ¿por qué la ponen en la agenda? Para discutirla, para ver qué respuesta tiene la comunidad. No nos quieran ver la cara de idiotas porque no somos así. Hay personas aquí, personas que posiblemente tengan universidad, que tengan esto y lo otro, pero son más ignorantes y todavía viven con la tetera de mamá y de papá. Así, viven con la tetera todavía, porque son unos niños. Desafortunadamente nosotros los metimos a ustedes, mintiéndonos, ahora estoy diciendo, mintiéndole a nuestra comunidad, que ustedes iban a ser buenos representantes, que sean esto que lo otro, pero, aunque digan que no, yo te metí en él. A ellos, pues, todos los metimos, porque ustedes ni siquiera caminó. Ni siquiera caminó. Tampoco Marco no caminaba hasta la última. ¿Quién nos metió aquí? Nosotros.
I'm sorry, at this point, I would like to have her removed from this. I already gave her 2 warnings and she continues. She needs to be removed, I'm sorry, you need to pause or you're going to continue to run.
Ya me quedé minutos.
So you need to wait. You need to wait. I need her, please, removed. I already gave her 2 warnings. One second. And for the person who's talking, that's your first warning as well. Please, because we're going to close that door. Continue.
O lo otro, no son contra los oficiales, porque están haciendo su trabajo. Pero aquí parece una prisión. En lugar de estar viendo lo otro, lo tenemos aquí resguardando, dice la Miss Mayor. Come on. Los impuestos no van para que te haga protección. Agarren por un investigador privado y para que se proteja. No traten de usar sus impuestos. Esto que tienen todos los policías que tienen aquí, están en la calle. Pero usted, más gloriante, ¿no? Mayor, ¿no cree que es algo estúpido? Estos son los dineros de sus impuestos. Pónganlos a trabajar inteligentemente, si es que de veras tiene inteligencia. Porque para mí, no los tienen. Les falta mucho todavía. Gracias.
Can I go ahead and do a summary of the interpretation, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. My name is Rosario Rodriguez. I'm Jennifer's father, for anyone who doesn't know. But I'm not here to push positions. I'm only here to oppose marijuana. That's all. And on this subject, Marcos, you're a question mark. Pedro, you tried to harass me at the last meeting, but I'm maybe 7 years old, but I'm not afraid. Just so you know, don't try it again. Why would you put something on the agenda if you don't plan to do anything about it? We're not stupid. There are people here who graduated from college but are more ignorant than anyone else. You're lying to the community. Pedro, you don't want to admit it, but I put you in office. The rest of you, we all put you in office, so you need to work for the community. And also, I have nothing against the police officers because they're just doing their jobs, but what are they all doing here? Are they like bodyguards for the mayor? Are you using them as your own personal private investigator? Don't use our tax money like that. We're not stupid, and you all should act like you act as intelligent as your university degree would say that you are.
José Hernández. Ana Castro. León Gómez. Norma Flores. María Cardiel.
Me da tristeza. Se ven bien sentados ahí. Qué triste, qué dolor, qué valor en tu vida tan bajo. En vez de ver por la comunidad que sea una ciudad bonita, tranquila, feliz, llena de deportes para los niños, llena de ejercicio para las mujeres de esa edad, para los hombres de esa edad. Pero ustedes están viendo más allá por ustedes, por la ambición. No, mija, estás chiquita, mi niña. Te falta mucho, mi amor, mucho para poder en la vida. Agarra los ejemplos de tus padres. No tenemos la vida comprada, mija. Ni tú, mi hijo, no tenemos la vida comprada y ya no sabemos. Y vuelvo a repetir, ¿qué ejemplo grande nos dejó Kobe Bryant? Porque hizo su dinero jugando, honestamente, divirtiéndose, haciendo reír, haciendo feliz a todo el niño y a la juventud, sin problema, sin abusar de la gente, agarrando su dinero como él lo quería. un dinero justo con felicidad y alegría. ¿Y ustedes cómo lo creen agarrar? No se cieguen con la ambición. La ambición se va, el cuerpo se pudre. Y aquí en esta vida se paga lo que estamos viviendo, pero aún nos toca vivir en purgatorio, ténganlo entendido. No piensen que no hay infierno, tenemos un Dios grande y nos va a juzgar a cada uno por nuestros actos. Si ustedes se comprometieron a hacer por la comunidad un bien, como dijeron, somos de aquí de Belgarden, estudiamos en la High School de Belgarden. Tienen poquito, de un año, mija. ¿Y qué están haciendo? Estudia, pero para hacer el bien. Lucha para triunfar, pero para hacer el bien. Para que dejes un buen ejemplo. Alejandra fue una buena líder del Concilio de Belgarden. Héctor fue un buen líder del Concilio de Belgarden. Pero así como están actuando, da tristeza. Tengan amor a ustedes mismos y amor a Dios. Porque si estamos respirando en estos momentos y hablando, es por el de arriba, no por nosotros. Gracias.
Alma Jiménez. Beatriz Mata. Okay, if there is no objection by the City Council, I'm sorry, interpretation. Summary, please.
It makes me sad. You all look good up there, but it seems like you value your life so little. Instead of helping the community, getting exercise equipment for the seniors, everyone, you're looking out for your own interests. You have a lot of life ahead of you. Follow the good examples of your parents, people who earn their money honestly, not abusing people, making honest money. You all are trying to get money the easy way, but ambition disappears and the body crumbles. Don't think that there's not a purgatory or a hell. There is a God who will judge us for what we do. You've only been here a year. Yes, keep going to school, but to do good. Alejandra, be a good city council member. All of you, be good city council members. Have some self-respect and some love for God, and work for the community.
Thank you. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will now close public comment. Seeing none, public comment is closed. We're going to go ahead and move on to the council member comments. Councilmember Tizuno.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to thank our staff for dealing with this type of meeting. It's unfortunate that we have individuals that will not take ownership on their actions. The court ruled against her, and she's bitter. Her family is bitter at this council, and at the end of the day, if they're so righteous, the law is the law, and the law spoke. You may not like the results, but it is what it is. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Barcelona.
Sí, yo solamente quiero agradecerle a las personas que dieron su comentario público, las personas que con mucho respeto vienen y hablan sinceramente de su opinión. Le agradezco a la señora María Martín, Esteban Figueroa y María Carriel por venir aquí y hablarnos de una manera educada, de una manera que tiene modales, con respeto. Esto es algo que yo aprecio. También quiero invitarlos a ustedes a que conozcan más a los concejales que tienen. No sé si ya han conocido a Pedro, pero en lo personal, a mí, nadie me ha venido a decir, hola, yo soy un presidente, necesito esto y lo otro, de lo que yo veo aquí. Pero fuera de esto, he ayudado a mucha gente y les doy gracias por la oportunidad que me han dado de contactarme, de hablar conmigo, de saber cuáles son mis puntos de vista políticos, mis puntos de vista morales y éticos. Se les agradece a los residentes que toman la iniciativa de venir y hablar con los concejales, porque a veces la gente les va a decir a ustedes, es el trabajo del concejal ir a su casa y ver cuál es su problema, pero déjenme les digo algo, como residentes, ustedes también tienen la responsabilidad de envolverse en su comunidad, y parte de eso es cuando hay algo mal en las calles, cuando hay algo mal en los parques, repórtenlo, háblenme, díganme, oye, vi basura por acá. He hecho varias limpiezas en la ciudad, yo personalmente donde voy a recoger basura. porque alguien me llamó y me dijo, hay basura por acá, Marco, ¿nos puedes ayudar? Ok, yo hago la llamada y hago mi trabajo. Entonces, solamente quiero otra vez agradecerle a la gente que con respeto viene acá a hablar, porque muchas veces en otras ciudades hay gente que hasta se disfraza y hace un escándalo en el circo y humilla a los concejales y humilla a otras personas, y saben que todo eso es legal. Nosotros no podemos callarlos a ustedes, porque la Constitución los protege a ustedes, y cuando tienen su hora de hablar, nosotros tenemos que dejarlos que ustedes hablen. Y eso lo vamos a hacer aquí. Ustedes pueden decir lo que quieran cuando es su tiempo de hablar, pero hay que hablar con respeto, no hay que decirnos idiotas, no hay que decirnos, porque no nos conocemos. A mí me gustaría conocerlos a ustedes, porque ustedes ven que son gente de orden, nada más de dedicación, un poquito de esa motivación para vivir mejor. Entonces, gracias por venir, gracias por sus comentarios, y espero que sigan viniendo a las juntas del consejo.
I would like to thank people who have come up to give their comments and their opinions, and who spoke respectfully and with manners. People like Maria Martin, Esteban Figueroa, Maria Cardiel. I appreciate the respectful way that you have spoken. And I would like to invite everyone to get to know the city council members you have. Maybe some of you already know Pedro Aceituno, but hardly anyone has come to me and tried to get to know me and said, I'm a resident, I need this or that. But I have helped a lot of people, and I've spoken to people and shared with them who I am and what I stand for and what I believe. You may think that it's a council member's job to go to your house and see what the problems are, but you, as residents, also have a responsibility, and that is to get involved in your community. If you see a problem out in the city, report it to someone. I get reports, and I have arranged trash pickups and helped with the trash pickups because someone has called me and said, Marcos, we have this problem. So I do my job and I go get it taken care of. Again, I would like to thank the people who have spoken with respect and manners. There, in other cities, there have even been people who have worn disguises and costumes and have created a circus to humiliate council members. We can't do anything about that. We have to let you speak. You have a right to speak, but you should speak politely and with respect. So let's get to know each other. And thank you again for coming to the meeting, and I hope you keep coming.
Thank you. I'm going to say this in Spanish, but I'll do my own interpretation. Solamente para los residentes que vinieron y que sí hablaron, usualmente nosotros no aclaramos rumores, chismes, etcétera, pero por respeto a ustedes se los voy a aclarar. Y solo para que se vayan de aquí con la información correcta y no la información equivocada. Uno, la presencia de la policía está aquí por los escándalos de cierta persona, ya que no pudimos controlar cierta junta que tuvimos hace unas cuantas semanas, y por esa razón ellos están aquí, ya que tenemos que tener control de esta junta para poder hacer los negocios de la ciudad, que es lo que a ustedes les importa, que sigamos trayendo los programas, que sigamos hablando de las cosas que en realidad importan. No es para protección mía ni para protección del concilio, sino para protección mutuamente de nosotros y de los residentes, y de que esta junta sea ordenada y se conduzca de una forma civilizada, que para eso estamos aquí, no para un circo. Segundo, alguien está haciendo comentarios sobre cómo nos ganamos el dinero. Lo siento, son mis comentarios y no puedo tomar preguntas, pero después de la junta podemos hablar si gusta. Están haciendo comentarios de cómo hacemos nuestro dinero. Bueno, cada concejal tiene su propia profesión, pero yo tengo un trabajo de tiempo completo donde gano mi dinero honestamente. Estoy estudiando leyes de tiempo parcial y también soy miembro de este concilio, y eso no me ha impedido nada en estar en todos los eventos y todas las juntas de este concilio. Y eso quiero que ustedes lo sepan y que lo observen, vean en todos los eventos quién está presente. Yo he estado presente y yo estoy aquí, cada conversación, cada problema que hay con los residentes, a veces me la estoy manejando y estoy hablando con aquí el abogado, estoy hablando con el city manager, trabajando por esta comunidad. Todo eso quiero, segundo, que lo sepan. Tercero, ustedes pueden pedir récord de todo el dinero del que el concilio recibe o no recibe. Y pueden ver que lo que nosotros hagamos por estar sentados aquí no es mucho. Sin embargo, cierta persona cobró todo ese dinero estando ausente, pero ahora nos está acusando a nosotros. Y eso lo decidió un juez, no yo. Ese proceso se hizo antes de que yo viniera, esa decisión se hizo antes, porque una persona estuvo ausente. Y ahora el veredicto está más que claro y ustedes pueden obtener copias de todo esto, porque todo esto es documentos de la comunidad. Y ahí mismo dice cuánto dinero se gastó en cierta persona antes, y la decisión que tomó el juez y las razones por las cuales la hizo, y eso no tiene nada que ver con nosotros. Nosotros no podemos tocar lo que hizo el juez, y quiero que ustedes sepan para que no piensen que nosotros somos los que decidimos eso cuando no fue así. Fue un juez, y ya si ustedes no confían en la opinión y en el poder del juez, pues ya ustedes sabrán. Eso es lo único que quería aclarar. Al último, solamente los quiero invitar, vamos a tener talleres de inmigración. Si no les sirve a ustedes, lo pueden con otros miembros de la comunidad. Uno va a ser en la ciudad de Montebello este miércoles y vamos a tener uno aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens el 26. Todo esto va a ser publicado por las redes sociales si gustan seguirnos. El taller se va a tratar sobre conozcan sus derechos y también preparación familiar, ya que si vamos a decir que hay una deportación o algo por el estilo que ojalá y nunca pase, queremos tener a nuestras familias preparadas porque conocer los derechos puedan en realidad crear un cambio entre si una persona es deportada o no. Pero si tienen más preguntas acerca de eso, por favor, está mi tarjeta afuera o siempre lo vamos a poner en las redes sociales. With regards to this is my interpretation, I'll do a quick summary. I just want to clarify that our police presence is here not because of protection of the council or because we need detectives or anything of that matter. We have the police presence so that we can conduct a civilized meeting due to the charades that have been happening in the past couple of meetings. And it's for the mutual benefit of both the council and the audience for us to be able to conduct a business that pertains to you, that it is important to you. Such as bringing the programs, such as having adequate conversations about topics that relate to our community. I also want to clarify that there was comments said with regards to how we make our money. I know at least for the three of us sitting here, we all have our respective jobs. I work full-time, I'm a part-time law student, and I sit on this council, and that hasn't stopped me or impeded me from going to any of the events. And I want you to pay attention, look at who is present at your events. This person that is accusing us was absent from the city council for such a long time, and a judge decided for her to be removed from office. It wasn't a decision of the council, and I just want to make that very clear. It's not a personal vendetta. It wasn't a decision that we made. It's a decision that a judge made, and all that is public comment. You can public record. You can request copies of any of that. You can also request copies of the money that council takes or doesn't take. And also with regards to the conferences, and you'll be able to observe that this person also went to conferences and also paid for some conferences that she did not attend. So I just want to put all that out in the open. Lastly, I just want to invite everyone to an immigration workshop that we will be having here at Suga Intermediate on February 26th. It's Know Your Rights and Family Preparedness. Last week, thank you so much for your hard work this week. On Thursday, our city was in chaos, and it was your birthday. So happy belated birthday. But thank you again for all the effort that you put for our community and to keep our officers safe. I'm glad that no one was hurt from our team and that we were able to do and work through this situation in the appropriate manner. So I just want to thank you for that. And with that, I would like to conclude this meeting in memory of Jay Cortez. He was an advocate for LA County and for the city. And 2 weeks ago, I was trying to end a meeting in his memory. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to say my council member comments. So tonight, I would like to end this meeting in the name of Jay Cortez. Thank you.
Nos